Oh, hello. Thank you for stopping by. I would you like a cup of tea first? No? Well, having tea now is no big deal. But I know you wanted to talk about let's see, was it my great great aunt? I think it was that far long ago because you were interested in Sybil Ludington Ogden. Now, I've made some notes here because I'm sorry, I'm just old and I don't remember everything. Where are my glasses? I put them here someplace. So well. So their facts are that she was born April 5th, 1761. This was about 15 years before the Declaration of Independence. Um, and her dad, it's important to understand about who her father was in order to understand who she was. Her father's name was Henry Ludington, of course. And he was quite a prosperous man. He was well known in the county where he was. He was a colonel in the militia, and he fought in the French and Indian War, which, by the way, is where he met his wife, Abigail. Now, this is interesting because it must have been love at first sight, not marrying the girl next door, somebody he knew in town, somebody he met on his way to Quebec during the French and Indian War. Well, again, Sybil, she was the first of 12 children. Must have been a loving marriage, you know what I mean. And she was 16 years old when one night a messenger came and said, Colonel Ludington, we're being attacked. You have to call up the militia. And he was too tired to go further and didn't really even know the area. But Sybil knew the area, and she got on her horse at about 9 o'clock, and off she went to round the militia. She had to fight off a highwayman and other things, or so the urban legend goes. There's actually nothing written about who she was or who her father was. Well, we know who her father was through, public records and things like that, but nobody ever wrote down what was going on with her. But she did a really good job for her father then. She later, after the war, um, she later married shortly thereafter her husband, whose name was, what was her husband's name? Edmund Ogden. And they only had one son in the 15 years that they were together, and his name was Henry, probably after the dad. And good old Edmund, he died 15 years into the marriage, and Sybil never married again. She ran the same restaurant and little guest place that her husband had been running. She died at a ripe old age of 77. Let's see, that was February 26th in 1839. Now, Henry, her father, remember, I was talking about him. And I know you want to know about Sybil, but without knowing about Henry, Henry actually was an aide-de-camp to General Washington during the war, during some time. So you can imagine what kind of household she was raised in. She was the oldest of 12 children. She had a very patriotic family. Her uncles and her father were part of the Revolutionary War where records were kept. Her husband was part of the Revolutionary War. So you don't see that it's any big deal that Sybil might have decided that, yes, she can go out and round up these men in support of the Revolutionary War. It's really hard sometimes for me to think about that good old Sybil and the urban legend we have that there are no primary documents. Nothing was written. There isn't any enlistment paper like a man might have in supporting the revolution. Now, you can be considered a Revolutionary War patriot just for having fought in one battle that maybe lasted 10 minutes, whereas Sybil was out in the rain calling up the militia to go fight. Well, if you don't have any questions, just one interesting factoid. Good old Henry, the father, how did he die? Not old in his bed, was crossing a bridge in his coach, and he fell off the bridge in the coach and died. But Sybil lived a long life until she was 77 years old. Sure, I can't offer you a cup of tea? No? All right. I'd really appreciate our time together.